Rocking Chair Sessions. With Elisa Di Battista and Maria Teresa Barber.
Hello everyone.
And welcome to our Volume 4 of Rocking Chair Sessions here at the Bakehouse Art Complex with our special guest,
Sarah Henderson.
Thank you.
Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you.
We're very happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes, and we're testing out new microphones today for our listeners. So if we sound a little bit extra nervous, it's because it's basically technology we have not utilized before, so bear with us. Sarah's our guinea pig, even though she's our fourth basically session. We're testing out new, I guess, equipment.
Exactly, and it's also gonna help improve not just the sound, but also for our neighbors who always have to be especially quiet when we're recording. We hope that with using the mics, they can, continue their conversation without, being taped.
Yes.
And so, we hope this is going to improve the quality, and we're working on it, and we're just going to try to improve as we
move
along.
Yeah, we move along.
Exactly.
So we're excited. I guess our first icebreaker would be more or less just to ask, Sarah, how long have you been in Miami? Are you a local, or where did you come from?
I was born in Miami, but I grew up in Connecticut, and so I've been in Miami now for about 5 years.
Okay.
I was born in South Miami Hospital.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, and then my family moved up north to Connecticut.
How old were you when you left Miami?
Like 2 years old.
2 years.
Yeah.
So it was brief, like,
It was
how do you
brief.
say, brief stint or something?
A very short stint.
Yes. But I lived in Coconut Grove when I was 2, and now I came back full circle, and I live in Coconut Grove again. So.
Wow.
Did you have relatives that lived here that you decided, let me go back to Miami, or?
Yeah, my grandparents have had an apartment here since the 80s,
Oh,
and
exciting.
so after I graduated college, I decided to come back and be close to them, because I'm really close to them.
We also wanted to ask about college,
Yeah,
right? Where did you go to
where did you
college?
go?
I went to NYU, Tisch School of the Arts.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And how long is that program? I think it's...
Was that
It was
bachelor's?
Yeah, Bachelor of
Okay.
Finance. And I studied photography and imaging and creative writing.
And creative writing.
Yeah.
This was like a dual.
Wow, I did not know
Double
that.
major.
Double major setup. And when did you get your hands on your first camera that made you say, like, I have to become a photographer?
I think probably high school was my first true photography class, and I had the most amazing, eccentric teacher named Bob Mitchell, and he just sparked this love for photography in me. He was like very wild and inappropriate. And he talked about skunks and high heels. But he was just like an amazing, amazing man. And so that's where my real first photography experience came from.
And was it, not to reveal your age or anything, but was it more towards a digital end, or was it black and white photography?
She's not that old, because
I know.
I'm 30 years old.
I mean, you're super young. But I think the premise is, like, in school when you're learning, traditionally, for those of us that are like super mega young, like normally we learned in black and white, we learned in film. So did you have a film?
Yes.
Did you have a dark room?
Dark room, yeah, film photography, analog. No digital at that time. I mean, I think the digital cameras were really like flimsy and really pixelated in like the early 2000s or mid 2000s. So I was in the dark room with the chemicals, with the red light. As Maria knows, she spends a lot of time in the dark room here at the Bakehouse. And just like being in that dark space is like very poetic, and you have a lot of time to think and sort of be with your mind space.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And
I can't believe that you had that as a teenager already. Like, I'm not sure if I shared that with our audience, but I actually grew up in Austria, and I went to a Catholic school. So we learned like 5 languages there, which Latin was one of them. I had Latin for like 5 years in high school. But like to be in a dark room and to have like art classes like that is like completely unheard of. So I was always so jealous when I went to art school later on in San Francisco, and I heard all those kids from LA like telling me they've been in the dark room for like 4 years already. You know, they know already everything. And I was like, oh my God, I've never even set foot in a dark room.
You didn't have any art classes in high school?
We had some art classes that was like knitting. You know, it's not called art, it's called like
Recreational art crafts or something?
Crafts probably, right? So it was knitting and sewing, and I learned how to weave, and I like a lot of the things that I'm actually doing now. I learn in those classes, which is so funny, you know. But like a dark room would have been like, oh my God, a dark room?
I know, because that made us very curious, like your process. Like, do you photograph still in a non-digital format? Do you develop it yourself since you did have these dark room experiences? And was it just black and white, or did you dabble in color?
Well, currently I use a lot of instant film.
Okay.
I use all different types of cameras. I have a Polaroid Leica, I have a Holga with a Polaroid back, but I love the instant process. I'm not a very patient person, and I like, having instant gratification, seeing the image pop up. So for the past, I would say 3 years, I've been not solely working in instant film, but concentrating in a major way in instant film. But I also do other projects in black and white film and in colored film. I don't like digital that much.
Yeah, I haven't seen you use digital as much except for your wallpaper, right?
Yeah, I guess those are digital images, sometimes taken on my iPhone or a digital camera. My wallpapers are a completely different animal, but they also incorporate photography, obviously. I often layer Polaroids on top of the wallpaper and make sort of beautiful installations.
Yeah, I've seen so Sarah also has a studio here at the Bake House, and she's actually in studio
28.
28.
Yes.
And what I really like about her space is that she really creates an atmosphere, especially through the wallpaper as well. And then seeing the Polaroids on top of the wallpaper, it's really like an installation. It's really like you said, it's really like an installation, and it changes also what the Polaroids do. Yeah. Right? It changed for me.
Well, individually, I feel like the Polaroids also have within themselves that atmospheric quality, which is more or less like how I wanted to go through with the wallpaper versus the Polaroids. Like, how do you develop the concepts in your work? Because they're not identical, but they are in conversation in that they're, like, I would see them together in a show. Like, it's not like they're separate. Yeah. They work, I guess, as a, tool.
Yeah. They work off of each other. Yeah. Kind of like, I see it like that. It's like they complement each other in a way. Yeah, exactly. They're very different. Yeah. I mean, we probably have to explain to our listeners what they look like, because it's like...
I guess they're psychedelic. Yes. The wallpaper is psychedelic.
Yes. Yeah.
Usually floral or landscape inspired by Miami or wherever I've traveled to. And I usually mirror the images so that it's just sort of like an explosion of color and shape. And by putting the Polaroids on top of it, I'm sort of trying to engulf people in my work.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but I want to talk a little bit more about the psychedelic one. How did you end up with those, those images and those enviromments? Like, it's like an LSD trip almost, or something like that, right? It's definitely like out there.
Yeah. Well, I've always taken inspiration from the 60s, from the music of the 60s. I've always wanted to travel back in time and just experience that.
Would it be more like an aura? I feel like there's like a certain, I want to say energy that I feel that I receive from your images. Not necessarily like, oh, it's electric, but like some of like the Polaroid I have for the preview for your volume, your session.
Yeah, our listeners saw that probably. It's like, Sarah, it's you, right?
Yeah,
like reaching your arms up and coming out of that color,
Yeah,
right?
and it's kind of like this layered experience. It's like this energy quality to it. So I'm like, how do you visualize that? Or is it once you start taking the image that you start to play with it? Like, what is the process in how you eventually have your final like artwork? Like, where does that stem from?
I would say it's really a performative process. I don't like have a concept in the beginning, but I work with the images. That particular series that you're talking about was done on the Xerox machine. So I take a lot of self-portraits. So I had a self-portrait, and I went to my local Kinko's FedEx, the only place that really has copy machines anymore. And
I love them. I love them.
So true.
And everyone was saying, Kinko, go to Kinko's. And I was like, who the hell is Kinko's? I have no idea, but it's FedEx. And they're great. They're great.
They're great. And all the people, all the staff just think I'm absolutely crazy because I spend hours in there playing with the images on the flatbed of the copy machine, and I separate the colors and I move the image. So it's really about performance and movement, and that particular series is called Shape-Shifting.
Nice. So appropriate.
Yeah, and it was in Scope 2 years ago, and it was also in a show called Local Geometry at Artium Gallery here in Wynwood.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
So that's like the image that you chose. I don't know which one of you chose that image.
It was just
Elisa.
guttural. It spoke to me. I was like,
spoke to you. I like that guttural.
yeah.
That's one of my popular photographic pieces.
Yeah, I feel like it captures that. Talking about your series, how is it that you come about starting a new selection of artwork? You mentioned the background that are kind of sort of trippy and are kind of sort of, I would say, layered / reflective of themselves. How is it on your travels that you come up with these new series, or is it not just only on your travels or being inspired here by Miami that you come up my I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
I think it's a combination. I mean, on my travels, I'm obviously inspired by my surroundings. I was recently in Utah, and I went to the national parks there.
Beautiful.
And I was just so astounded by... I was there at night, and the night sky was just so dark and a blanket of stars. I find so much inspiration in nature, and the rock formations there it was like the beginning of time. So I really draw a lot of inspiration from nature, both in Miami and elsewhere. What was the second part of the question?
The commencement, I guess I would say, of a new series.
Oh, a new series. Oh, I love to give myself projects.
Okay.
Most recently, I went to Twinsburg, Ohio, to this Twins Festival to document 2,700 sets of twins.
I love that series. You had that installed downstairs.
Yeah, I love that series. I met the strangest people and just followed them around and made some friendships and like became pen pals with like this older set of twins who had lived together. They've lived together since they were born, and they're like in their late 80s, these two guys.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah, they never got married. They just lived in their childhood house and lived with each other forever. So I think like the weird little parts of society are just so intriguing. I don't know.
I thought a little bit of Diane Arbus,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
She
I
has like
love
this
Diane
very like
Arbus.
iconic twin image, and when I saw your series, I thought you were also like a little bit channeling her, right?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
her photographic vision, or
Yeah.
And she was also really interested in the Randfiguren German word. I
Which means?
have not used that yet.
Tell me.
Such a good word. It means people on the edge.
Yes, on the edge.
The exact translation, but it means something different. Like it's like, yeah, people. Would you say that in English like that?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, yeah.
Randfiguren.
I think that's an excellent way to describe it.
Yeah, I feel like even your utilization of the word weird is not like, it's not offensive to me because I feel like it's, no, I'm serious because sometimes I'm like, oh, you're so weird, but I feel like it's more like these people that are not just the normal average, like there's a beauty, there's a difference, there's something that sets them apart, which is, it's like this, I don't know.
And something about your photography is also like always different, you know, it's like something about your images, it's always capturing like almost another level, or it's not really just reality, it's like more than that, right? It's like a dream or like a memory, or like it's more like a dream than a memory, right?
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
I think dreamy is definitely a lovely word I would use. This is going to sound so strange, but I just got into animal totems. And my first card. Do you guys know about animal totems?
Not weird at all, and I would think it has to do more with like, do you say Native peoples?
Yeah,
Native Americans.
Yes,
Peoples, actually.
There's a history of that, like the lineage and the obviously, yes. Go continue. Sorry, I won't interrupt, please.
No, okay. And I pulled up one animal card that represents me. I chose it out of the pile, and it's a lizard. And the lizards live in the shadows, and this translated into like the dreaming space. The shadows are the dreamy space, and like allow you to dream. So, yeah, dreaming, dreamy, definitely.
Dark spaces, photo lab, dark room, development, dreaming, headspace. I see the connection.
Yes.
And how did you find the lizard? How did that?
So I bought this card set in this book.
You should have brought it to Rocking
I
Sessions.
was going to.
Oh my God.
It's called medicine cards, and you shuffle the deck of animals, and then you choose different animals for different aspects of your personality, and it goes by like north, south, east, west, above, below, within, left, and right, and it represents like your femininity, your masculinity, your creativity. So,
like different aspects of your personality.
Different aspects of your personality. I was going to bring them, but
And what else did you get? So you got the lizard?
So I got the lizard. I got an opossum.
Okay, what does that represent?
You know, I have.
What is an opossum?
Opossum, it's this really cute looking creature, but
Not
when
so
you get
cute.
too close, it hisses at you like a cat,
Yes.
and they could be vicious, and they plague to play dead so that you don't attack them, but then they attack you, and so it reminds me of the hippo almost, because the hippo is kind of like a very underestimated creature.
Right.
But continue, what did the possum card represent?
Oh, you know, I didn't read all. I didn't go through.
It was more of the lizard stuff.
It was more the lizard, and then the eagle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which was also very cool, and a bat and a black panther and. What was the
Which
last
I'd
one?
love to
Grouse.
describe what Sarah's wearing right now. She's wearing a leopard print multi-animal dress, which is beautiful.
Which you guys can see on
You're
the
gonna
cover.
see it in the Polaroid
on the cover of the
eventually.
podcast.
And then I also want to describe what she's doing with her hands as she's speaking, even though you cannot see it. I love that you talk with your hands. It's very descriptive, and you use it in your artwork too, like the performative, the movement, the motion, and you capture that, I feel.
And you are a dancer. You're a dancer.
I love dancing.
Yeah.
Dancing makes me feel alive.
Yeah.
I would say a lot of my work is very performative. Not super like hyper aware of myself, but just like natural. And I've taken self-portraits since the beginning of my artistic career.
High school.
That's when you realize.
Yeah, because I'm my own best friend. I don't know. I like being with myself. I don't know.
Introverted.
Yeah, I'm definitely introverted. Yeah, I mean,
I would never suspect that.
No.
No, not right now. Not in this interview. You are excellent speaker. You're doing really well. We mentioned Diana Arbus, and honestly, I geek out because I love her. Who else were your inspirations or artists that you looked at? They don't have to be photographers that you're like, wow, I really, somehow find either a tune in terms of concepts or visual references, or just what artist did you go like, oh yeah?
When I was younger, I loved Cindy Sherman when I was making a lot of self-portraits, especially her Untitled film series.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's black and white, and she dresses. Are you
Incredible.
familiar with it?
Yes.
Yeah. For the listeners who don't know, she sort of dresses up in 1950s glam in some of her photos.
Different scenarios too.
Different scenarios, sometimes housewife, sometimes actress.
And she's recreating film scenes in that particular series, right?
Yes.
That's what she's doing. I know that James Franco redid
Really?
one of her film
to
still
see
series,
this.
which is hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah, he's quite funny. But
And he's also, I think, he does performance art, so maybe someday we'll...
He's so brilliant. No, I really do want to see some of his work.
yeah, that was funny. But
So Cindy Sherman.
Cindy Sherman. I can see that. I can
too.
see that totally.
In college, I interned for Mary Ellen Mark, who is a fantastic documentary, or she was. She passed away 2 years ago. She's like the ultimate documentary photographer. She started, she was a Fulbright scholar, and she started going to India, to the, I don't want to say whorehouses of India, and she used this really vibrant, colorful, grainy film and just like got into the situations of this particular establishment. And it was just, she was amazing. So she was a huge influence on my artistic vision. And working for her was just fantastic. And she did lots of she took portraits of lots of famous people. So that was.
And you were working for her?
I was interning for her, while I was at NYU.
So you met the famous people too?
Yeah. So
Who did you meet? Spill the beans.
Oh
spill the beans.
gosh, like Ethan Hawke.
No.
Yeah.
I have the biggest crush on
Do
Ethan
you?
Hawke. I'm so sorry, but I mean that movie that they shot in Vienna. I'm from Austria, by the way, to all of the listeners that are trying to decipher my accent. Before Sunrise.
Oh yes. So
You met Ethan Hawke. Oh my God.
And he walked around with like a baby doll T-shirt, like exposing his stomach, and he was just very like. He was very cool. He was very cool.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
And I'm trying to think who else. Well, she photographed, I don't know, so many famous people.
And she took pictures for like magazines?
Yeah. She did like Vanity Fair and New York Times and the New Yorker, and but she's just a prolific artist.
So full spectrum, not just artist, but she also did professional stuff.
Yeah.
Did you learn, like, what kind of tips or advice did she have for you as a student at the time at NYU?
Well, she didn't really talk to me that much because I was her intern. Okay. But I took a workshop with her 2 years ago in Oaxaca, Mexico.
Nice.
And she was so, like, what's the word? I want to say she was ballsy. Is that a terrible word?
No, that's
it's a
Women
really
could
good
be
word.
ballsy too. I just wanted to put that out
I like
there.
the word ballsy.
And she was strict, but like in such a good way. And the best piece of advice she gave me was that life is about decisions, and you have to make decisions, because I was flip-flopping between color film and black and white film. And she was talking about the decisive moment and how important that is in making a piece of art and just in life in general.
Agreed.
Like the punctum. Do you guys know?
Punctum,
Yeah.
yes.
Like, who's that? Like Roland Barthes, Camera Lucida? Whatever. There's a book. And it's all about the punctum of a piece that makes like people go, wow. So
What does punctum mean?
like the punch
like
of a
that
piece.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's an actual word
It
or
is a word.
I think,
Probably
is
Latin,
it Latin? Right?
Since
I think
was
so. It
learning
sounds Latin. And like
Punctum.
every piece needs a punch. Every art piece.
Like a point, like making a point.
Making
Is
a-
that it?
Not necessarily making a point, but just like
Epitome of that piece.
yeah,
Mhm.
like
the thing that captures
wow
the all,
factor.
like, yeah.
yeah. So I try
So you
in
did
my
learn
work.
from her
What was
Yeah.
what was changing for you after that workshop?
Well, that workshop was just absolutely incredible.
Like what was your like when she says like you have to make a choice?
Right.
What was the choice that you made? Was
well,
that when you started to focus on instant film?
Yeah.
Or was that it? Was
Yeah,
that like
I think
want to
so.
follow that?
I think it's more just the decisive moment when taking a photograph.
Oh, okay.
And knowing whether a photograph is good, is worth showing, or it doesn't really make the cut. And
Yeah.
I think it's so important that it has power.
Yeah, the editing process.
Yeah.
It was also
Oh, yeah.
a lot about the editing.
Yes.
Oh
Absolutely.
wow! And she died right after that.
Yeah, she was sick during the workshop, and she died like a couple months afterwards.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
What an opportunity that you were able to do that.
Oh, I know. I was thrilled that I had made the choice to do that because I
Yeah.
was, timid about going to Mexico by myself.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't really a group setting. Everyone went out on their own, and I went to villages, different. I don't speak Spanish that well, so I felt daring.
So it was also not like a community setting that you would all like live together. It was like everyone had their
Everyone had
hotels.
yeah, exactly.
So you were in Mexico on your
Yeah.
own. Wow.
And I went into orphanages, which I had never really been exposed to that before. So it was a learning and growing trip that changed me.
Beautiful, beautiful. We're starting again.
We're coming back from a very short break.
We're coming back from our little break, and Sarah is just winding herself in her rocking chair about the usage of the word ballsy, which I think is hilarious.
Sorry, Mom.
Oh,
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom. What's your mom's name?
Judy.
Judy. We apologize that we made your daughter say the word ballsy. I think it's awesome.
That was a great Freudian
She's
slip.
very ballsy.
She is very
ballsy. Yeah.
Okay, I guess I had a follow-up question. You mentioned the series that you had, that you traveled out to for the convention with the twins. You mentioned this more or less experimental workshop you had in Oaxaca, Mexico. And so I guess my question is, where do you get the trigger for like, ooh, I want to do this next? Or is that not how your artwork, is there like a little ignition that happens when you want to try something new? Or I guess that goes back to the concepts and the process for me. Like why twins, or why experiment, like you mentioned, you went out to orphanages. Like what draws you out? Like is it...
I went to Twinsburg after Oaxaca because I was doing documentary photography there. And so I was looking for another documentary project. My work isn't really documentary. I mean, I love my documentary projects and I'd love to do more. But those two sort of coincided because I was on this black and white documentary kick, and I was documenting other people, which I don't usually do. I usually document myself.
Exactly, yeah.
But I'd love to give myself more projects like that because it gives me an opportunity to meet really crazy, lovely people and get out of my comfort zone. 'Cause I have to go up and talk to them and ask them, if I can photograph them. Not necessarily pose them, but just, set up the scene.
I do feel like we have some similarities in our process, right?
I
it's
think
like
so.
That's why we are really good friends
Yes,
too.
yes.
And it's always kind of like the struggle that I also see in your process, like going inward and then going outward, right? And so I feel like your self-portraits are always, it's a journey to the inward, right?
Yes.
And with your documentary work, it's a journey to the outward. It's about like connecting to other people, which is not really easy if you're an introvert like me and you.
Right.
And I don't know about Elisa. Are you
I
an
think
introvert?
you're not an
I'm
introvert.
not sure. The fact that I teach during the day, I kind of have to pretend to be an extrovert. But I guess when I am making my artwork, I am more of an introvert personally. But I do feel, talking about studio practice and being in residency, like such as this as a bakehouse, I do feel that having your door open or having open studios, it makes you have to be more vocal about your work, talk about yourself as an artist and your process. So I guess maybe a follow-up question about the studio process and how that works in the introvert and extrovert would be for you, Sarah. How do you feel having a studio here at the Bakehouse Art Complex has, I guess, you know, how has it changed your practice? How has that affected the way that you speak about your work or more or less involve and interact with people?
I feel like I really grew up as an artist here at the Bakehouse. I've been here for 5 years, so I came here when I was 25.
Incredible.
Yeah.
25?
And I was
That's when I started grad school.
Fresh from New York, or where were you?
I was in London for a little bit before that.
We'll go back to that later. I'm curious.
That's where your husband is from, right?
Yeah, that's where my husband's from. So we were living in London, and then we decided to move back to Miami, and then I applied for residency here, and I waited for like a few months, and I was so nervous, and finally I was accepted. I was so happy. I had never done a residency before. But it's given me the opportunity to show in places that I would never have had opportunities to show in before. I was at the Boca Raton Museum in a juried exhibition.
Congrats, it's exciting.
Thank you.
Wow.
At Scope, at Art Wynwood, you know. So many opportunities have come in through my door, really. I feel so lucky to be part of this bakehouse community.
And it's 60 people. I mean, 60 people, 60 studios.
60
so
studios.
potentially, there are always a lot of artists here. You know, for an introverted person, that can also be like overwhelming, right? It's like how do you handle that? And then there are people in the hallways. You know, you have a glass door. There are people looking in, and there are open studios with tons of people.
I mean, I like to hide sometimes in my studio during open studios as well. But the people here are generally fascinating and creative and talented. And so if you make an effort to speak to the other resident artists, you get a lot from it.
Yeah, I made the same experience actually. But it was like, for me, it was like after grad school, right? That's when I moved to Miami shortly after grad school. And I mean, for me, it was like horror, the first open studios. Like, I was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? And am I supposed to do sit in my studio all by myself? And then I had this anxiety that people already kind of, I think they just did not come into the studio because they felt that I was so anxious that they rather stayed outside, you know. And that was a hard process for me to get more comfortable with that and learn how to speak to people who probably know a lot about our work, like our curators or our collectors, and then talk to people who don't know that much about, or kids, or, you know, and then find always like a way how to explain myself, kind of, which is, I agree, like, I can agree with you that I definitely learned a lot. It's only been 2 years.
Yeah. Did you learn more about yourself and your artwork and what it was? Like, was there like these revelatory moments where you're like, wow, this is what my artwork is about, through speaking to other people? Because I feel I have that experience a lot.
I want to say no.
You're like, I already know what my artwork is about, Elisa. You're the only confused one.
I generally don't like speaking about my art because it's really personal. And so this is a really good...
Thank you so very much for doing this,
Yes, thank
Sarah.
you for having me and like allowing me to think deeper and explore the themes of my artwork. I mean, I create a lot of work outside of the studio as well. Like, I go into the Everglades by myself, and you know, I just commune with nature.
It seems very reflective, like when you said, Maria, the introvertness, like the exploration from within. You mentioned mind space before.
like, and you did mention it's not performative as in like you're acting out for somebody, but it's more of like you being in the present within yourself and your body and experiencing the outer world.
It's a beautiful way to describe it. I like
Oh,
that.
well, that's what you capture, I feel, in your images, at least those that have seen your images.
Is there like a spirituality also that goes with that? Like I had this feeling just right now when you were, describing the process that there's something magical about that too, right?
Yeah, I think we as artists have the job of being like healers and also healing through our work. And I think making art is magic.
Yeah.
And it's like the closest you can be to the divine, whatever the divine is, Mother Nature, whatever it is. There's a divinity in making artwork.
And an image comes to my mind, an image of Sarah's, where she is pregnant, which is not true, right? You were not really pregnant, but there is a woman in the photograph that has a pregnant belly, like 9 months pregnant, and it's covered in like green.
Oh yeah, it's Mother Nature.
Yeah, Mother Nature. Can you talk about that?
Of course. So that was a series I did while I was living in New York, and I was using Polaroids with a medium format camera in a studio setting, and I was collecting different relics like fabrics and vines, and I was making myself into these different characters, and that series is called Woman Warriors.
Such great titles.
I love it.
And it's funny, in my mind, I wasn't pregnant, but you're not the only one who has said that, because I layered the Polaroids and I compartmentalized and fragmented the Polaroids. I took different parts of my body and collaged them together to make one image. So it was sort of jarring, the different angles that I took photographs from. And I was very connected to Mother Nature.
That's so interesting that you didn't even see yourself as being pregnant in that image, right? It was just like the different perspectives of your body.
Yeah,
It
no,
kind
but
of
you're
like-
not the only one. It was written up in the Sun Sentinel newspaper because it was in a show at the Bailey Contemporary Art Center last summer. And the man who was writing the article also said that she looked pregnant to him. But I think that's beautiful. I mean, Mother Nature is fertile and pregnant.
And as creator of life,
Yes.
and like you say, divinity and making. That's quite really cool as well.
No, that's a really strong image, and I think it actually, I saw it when the Bakehouse did an Instagram, the takeover, right? And you posted it there, and I was like, wow, that's... Did you do a whole series of those fragmented?
I did.
It's a collage, actually. It's a collage of Polaroids, right?
Yes, self-portrait.
And then you keep it a collage, or did you scan it and then print it out? No, you
it's
wouldn't
the
do that.
original Polaroids. I have scanned it for internet purposes, but I did. That was my thesis for NYU, and I did Calamity Jane. I did Coatlicue, who's like a Mexican goddess representing fertility. Who else? I did one that was just me, but with surrounding myself with crystals because I love crystals. So I made up my own goddess. And I took from different cultures, and made this series.
I do want to know a little bit more about your background, since you said you were born in Miami, and where did your parents come from? Were they also like?
My father's English. He's a wonderful, creative, eccentric Englishman, an enigma.
Wow.
And he came to the States in the 70s, and he's very creative. he always really encouraged me in my art making.
That's nice.
Yeah, and he himself is a painter. He drove this when I was like 9 or 10 years old. He bought this hearse from Kentucky and had it painted Caribbean pink, and he would carry his paintings around in the back, and it was just wild and embarrassing.
Such a good idea, hers.
It was amazing, and I would sit in the jump seat in the back, like the Undertaker's jump seat, and he would drive me to school in it, and he's super eccentric and lovely.
Oh my God! Wow.
I'm curious to know, because once again, it's like this enclosed, safe space in the back. Was it still dark with the windows, or were the windows not tinted?
I don't think they were tinted.
It was not scary for you.
No, it was like fake wood,
Okay.
and like this weird jump seat that pivoted. And it was just like, who thinks of that? Who thinks of going to get a hearse to carry your paintings?
Creative
Such a great
individual.
idea.
Somebody who sees outside of the box and just completely
Yes,
rewrites
absolutely.
the original purpose of an item to be,
Yeah.
That's genius.
So did you spend a lot of time growing up also in England, or was that?
No, I would go visit his parents when I was young, but I didn't spend huge amounts of time when I was young in England. I lived there for half a year with my husband, and it's a beautiful place, but I'm happier in Miami.
You're happier in Miami?
Yes.
Wow! Shout out to Miami.
South Florida.
We love Miami.
I think it's so great that you mentioned your dad being a creative, and he, pushed you. Didn't push you necessarily, but just
he
like
pushed me. He
He
pushed me.
pushed you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. He pushed you, but he embraced the fact that you yourself were creative, and he
Yeah.
said, "If this is your chosen path, then so be it."
I want to hear that. How did he push you?
Well, I think he would. He always wanted me to be the best that I could. I mean, that sounds cheesy, but he exposed me. Him and my mother. My mother's also an artist.
Oh wow!
Exposed me
Nice.
to, to museums growing up, and I knew from a very young age that the arts were my calling, just because I was surrounded by so much creativity. My mom's a ceramic artist. My stepfather is a children's book illustrator. My grandmother is a sculptor. And
Oh, wow.
the list goes on and on. So
Sarah, this is fascinating. Please continue.
That's incredible. I mean, wow.
my aunt is a gallerist. So we're like a very artistic
Creative
family. Creative.
Creative bunch.
Yes,
Yeah.
creative bunch. I like that. So it was, from early on in my childhood. I can't think of anything else I would have done just because everyone around me was so creative and was an artist. So
Is it like a family of doctors that you're not even allowed to do anything else
I
but
think
be
so.
a doctor? Is it like that?
yeah, it's like
Is
a
it-
trade. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's
yeah.
like you apprentice for a trade and from your parents, and you become.
I can't even imagine what that feels like, because for me it was like being an artist was like the furthest away from what I ever thought that I would be. It was like, and also my family, like it was like my father always suggested I should be a dentist helper.
Oh, yeah.
That was like his job dream for me. My mom said you can do whatever you want, so I became a psychologist.
Wow.
But then the jump to going to art school, I mean, it was like everyone in my family thought like, what the fuck is going on? It's like really, yeah, we're on radio, apologies, but it was really like, I can't even imagine what that is like,
Yeah.
that
You would
that
have
is
brought
just
shame
like,
to the family.
It was wildly accepted. It was,
That's cool.
yeah. I can't think of any
Wow.
other way my life would have turned out.
wow,
I could have seen you going down a different route. If you had
Tell
been
me.
an artist,
writer.
writer,
Okay.
right?
Well, you both
Oh
are
yes,
writers.
yes.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. But I would also sing like some type of like holistic healer of some sort. Yeah,
Yeah.
meditative or
Psychotherapist.
It's like, you think?
Totally.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
Wow.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I was I dabbled in
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
thoughts of that.
Yeah.
But healer, yes, I mean, I like that too. I like all the energy work, and I just went to have my aura photographed. Have you guys done this?
I saw that.
Yes.
I have not seen that. Please.
I need to show you. So I had it done 2 years ago, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to go back and see if it was like just a silly little thing. But it was taken again this past weekend, and it's like almost identical, which is crazy. And you can't see me at all. It's just, I'm just light in the middle, and then there's like a ton of orange, which is creativity. And, you know.
There's a lot of orange.
There's a lot of
But
orange.
the light shines much brighter. I was like, this is a before and after or something like that.
The light, and that actually means that I'm not here, that I'm not grounded. So that's something I have to think about.
Yeah. Well, I think
Because there was a lot of blue also, right?
There was blue,
Is
and
that
there
kind
was
of like you're
red.
lifted? Like you're more...
Blue was, I'm trying to think what she said blue was. Like something like trust, like I have to trust my instincts more. And she said my aura was off kilter. This is like so
which so feeds into
weird
your
for our
photograph.
listeners.
I don't think it's weird at all. I mean, if they saw your image, it has to do with like that transient temporal space. It's just like it looks like there's movement, but it's not grounded. So I'm wondering how that is. Do you feel you're not grounded physically in the present, or do you feel that it's more like you're not grounded in any specific thing? Like I feel your curiosity for different cultures, especially when it comes to like the medicinal and the magic and the crystals, like
The totem
and the totems and the goddesses. Like do you seek them out? Do you just find interest in them? Do you
They come through my life. I mean, I don't know. I see a book. I pick up a book. I don't know. Just I don't go searching. I think it comes to me.
like it's more organic?
And there's something... Okay, now I feel like I'm gonna sound stupid.
No, let's hear
There's
it.
something elf-like about you, like a forest, like like how are those creatures like the spirits of the
A naughty
woods
little
or
elf?
something? No, not naughty at all. That's not what I mean. But something like something very spiritual.
I
and
think
very
of the
connected
earth
to
and
the earth.
very in tune with your surroundings.
Yeah.
And like you say, your body, since you tend to be very observant of yourself when you're alone and you're just more aware, and you kind of capture those things that not everybody is necessarily comfortable with.
We are coming to our favorite question.
How much time do we have, by the way, Maria Teresa?
It's about
about
time
that
for
time.
the favorite question.
Okay, go ahead, Maria. It's your thing.
Do you have one important question?
Well,
that you
I guess before that, I just wanted to say, like, do you have any new projects coming up?
that's the
Is
most
there
important
anything
one.
you're excited about?
I'm
Upcoming
not.
shows?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I'm not in any upcoming shows at the moment. Projects, I just got a new sewing machine, and I've been sewing my Polaroids together. So
Wow, we can't wait to see that.
so that's I'm excited about that. And I'm excited for the summer because it's quieter, and I usually have a clearer head, and and I make more work in the summer.
Yeah. I can't wait to see those new sewed Polaroids.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
I'm excited about it.
So excited. Now, my favorite question. Okay, so you probably know from our earlier podcast that this rocking chair is actually magical, which is going to be so easy for Sarah. I
mean, she's already magical.
She's already imagining. So, what would the 3 wishes be that you would ask of our rocking chair?
Wow.
You could have anything.
If I could have anything.
Anything in the world.
I'd like a huge studio with beautiful natural light.
That's a good
Like
one.
that, like very sultry afternoon light coming in, and like lush velvet curtains in canary yellow, and high ceilings.
That's so specific.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like if you look at Picasso's studios, it's just like they're huge and just like antique and beautiful. Anyways, so I'd love.
That's the first wish. That's a good one.
Yeah.
By the way,
The AC just
the
kicked in.
airy, that's what you hear in the background is the AC.
It's a time travel machine.
It's a time travel machine. Oh, I love you, Sarah. I love you so much. I just wanted to say airy has a residence in the Everglades
I know.
where I
Again,
could
shout out to
totally
Ari. Yeah,
see
I
you.
could see you doing
Shout
that.
out to Ari, they are doing fantastic work. And they have a new gallery that just opened that's called The Nest.
Ooh.
And that's a gallery in the Everglades that they just opened. And they're doing amazing work.
I've been out to see the space
Yeah.
where the artists live. It's very earthy.
Yeah.
Very earthy.
Yeah. Second. Wish.
Speaking of time travel, I'd love to go back to the 60s. Because I just want to be groovy and listen to the music. And
Any specific place or location where you would want to travel back to?
maybe New York. Not San Francisco so much. I don't know San Francisco well enough, or maybe California. I'd like to be with the Beach Boys.
Yeah, the Beach Boys. I can totally see that.
And I love like the fashion from the 60s, just the whole mentality. The politics are fascinating.
Time travel to the 60s.
Time travel to the 60s.
Number 2. And the third one?
Third one.
Do you have a third one?
I don't know. I just, for my friends and family to be happy and healthy and fulfilled, and for me to have endless creative juices flowing.
Wow. Amazing.
Very selfless, but not towards the end. But it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good. I mean,
That was like
we always
4. That was like
Incredible.
4, but you know,
Incredible.
special rocking chair.
We're loving the energy. We're loving the energy.
So I guess it's a close.
All
for us.
right. Yeah, we're coming to the end of volume 4 of the rocking chair
Already, and
sessions.
here we were afraid that we would have nothing to talk about, and we.
And I have to say that, which is kind of like incredible, but Sarah actually mentioned that she has a fear of being boring, and just after hearing those 3 wishes, I'm like,
That does not sound
where
boring at
the
all."
hell is that coming from? Like, no way ever you
Nowhere
could
was
be
that
boring.
boring.
Like, no way, no way, no way.
Yellow velvet is not boring.
Incredible.
Canary
No.
yellow
Canary
velvet.
yellow velvet. So thank
All
you
right.
to our
Thank you so much for
Thank
this
you so much.
absolutely not boring
Thank you,
interview.
Sarah. If you want to see more of Sarah's stuff, check her studio out here at
Check
the
our
Bakehouse
studio
Art
at the Bakehouse,
Complex.
and thank you guys for listening in again, and we are gonna have another treat coming up next week.
Yes, with artist Mr. Andre Martinez. He's
Andre
at
Martinez
the
is gonna
Laundromat
come.
Art Space. And we have a few more sneak peeks coming up, so keep your eyes peeled for those.
Stay tuned. Alrighty.
Thank you, Maria, for being here tonight.
Thank you, Elisa,
Thank
for
you.
carrying me through. Thank you, Audio Equipment, for
Not failing us entirely.
not failing us entirely.
Yeah.
And see you next week.